Well, hi everyone, Sean Humphreys here. Welcome to this edition of the Take Charge or Change podcast. In this edition of the podcast, we're going to share some powerful principles around entrepreneurship. And it was Peter Diamandis who penned this information. Great information. You'll enjoy this edition of the podcast. Now, for those of you who don't know the name Peter Diamandis, he was the founder, or is the founder of Singularity University and the X Prizes. So as a scientist and as an entrepreneur, Diamandis and his team have had a profound impact on science and technology, and they'll continue to have a massive impact. So anytime Peter writes something, I pay attention to it. There's always some wisdom embedded in the information that he puts out. So let's cover off the main principles that he shared around entrepreneurship. So you want to start a new company, you want to start the entrepreneurial journey. Here's some things that he wishes people had shared with him before he began that journey. So the first one is to find a mentor. Now the one caveat around that is a lot of people would be reluctant initially to be seen as a mentor, because that conjures up a whole bunch of things like massive time commitment. I just don't have the time for that. So I wouldn't approach someone saying, will you be my mentor? But what I would do is identify people who've been successful in their entrepreneurial journey, maybe successful in related industries you're thinking of getting into, and just informally say, let's have a chat for coffee or lunch. I just want to pick your brain. That's what I'm thinking about. Most people would be very open to doing that. I think the whole mentorship thing becomes more of a doable kind of relationship if individuals see that you're beginning to get traction, you're really serious about this. And I think once that happens, then you'll find that people will be prepared to come alongside you and help you in that journey. So that's the first one, is find a mentor. The second thing is follow your passion. Don't settle for anything else. And I think one of the reasons he talks about that is that the entrepreneurial journey can be very, very hard. It can be very lonely at times. There's a lot of inertia that you need to fight through to achieve your goals. And so if it's not something you thoroughly enjoy, if you're only doing it for money, then it can get really, really hard slogging. I remember when I first went into the financial services industry, I heard about this young portfolio manager. He had a CFA, had graduated from university. I think he'd been in the industry a little bit, but he identified a particular firm that he wanted to work for. He approached the firm and they didn't have a position for him. Couldn't afford to pay him to come on board. So he volunteered. He said, I'll work for free. So they said, okay, sure. And so had amazing experience. They eventually did have the ability to pay him a regular salary. What they did do for him initially was, I think, give him some stock options or opportunities within the firm. But he was prepared to do it for free to get the experience because he was so passionate about the industry, the profession, and the opportunity he saw within that company. So it's got to be something that you are so passionate about you would do it no matter what, because you need to sort of deep dive into that aspirational piece to get you through the tougher times. Now, he also talked about some typical mistakes that entrepreneurs make. So two common mistakes that he said he's seen young entrepreneurs make when getting started were, first, a tendency to go with the crowd. So chase the latest startup ideas based largely on the successes of other popular entrepreneurs rather than pursuing their own personal passions. What we don't need is probably another photo sharing app. So you need to really lean into what you're seeing in the marketplace and what you're passionate about, and don't go with the crowd. That's the one piece of advice that he said. And second, he sees many entrepreneurs focusing on just the money rather than pursuing their passions and their dreams. So he said, it's great if you make money. I mean, that's one of the outcomes that people are pursuing. But to get a massively successful business and to do well in your chosen field, it can't just be about the money. So where do you get an idea for a startup? That was a great thing. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to look for ideas, there'll be a catalyst for moving forward. He said, read more. Be a voracious reader. Consume information. He viewed a book as actually engaging in a conversation with the author. And so it's great advice. We've all heard about this, but many of us are not readers. But he said, really part of the entrepreneurial journey, and I think that it's a journey that, not just for entrepreneurs reading. I mean, any chosen profession, to be a resilient professional, you need to be a reader. Now, it's not just about reading. It's also about reading intentionally, reflecting on the information that you're reading, be a note taker, have your journal, and then disengaging and watch the world. So you need to be an observer. You need to be able to disengage every once in a while. So if you're the kind of person that just dives into your to-do list and you just feverishly work and work and work, you may be the kind of person that just doesn't notice trends. So it's a very difficult skill to develop, but the ability to kind of disengage and watch and begin to see things that most other people just don't see out there. So he mentioned 3 books that were transformative for him. May not apply to you, but he used the example of The Spirit of St. Louis by Charles Lindbergh that gave him actually the idea to establish the X Prize Foundation. And he also had the book called The Singularity is Near by Ray Kurzweil. Gave him the idea for founding Singularity University as an example. A couple books that were really transformative for him. So there's just a few quick ideas around entrepreneurship. Hope you found the ideas helpful. And the notion of entrepreneurship and these ideas isn't just for budding entrepreneurs establishing new businesses. It's something that all entrepreneurs need to sort of be thinking about. So whether you're in an organization, have an established practice, I think these principles are very valid. Hope you enjoyed this edition of the podcast. Well, if you lead people, if you're an organizational leader, have sales teams, executive teams that you work with, and you are challenged around how you can encourage your people to be more professionally resilient, to be more productive, to be more healthy, and to be happier within their profession, then reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to engage in a conversation about how we can craft our programs in a customized way to help your organization and your people to be more professionally resilient. You take care.